Why does making friends as an adult feel so
What
hard?
should I wear on a first
What the
date?
hell is a formal?
But that
Why
hookup
is
was
buying my
not
first
good.
home
So
What do I want my
frustrating.
life to look like in 5 years?
We want to know too.
Since 2012, the Everygirl has been an online destination to help women around the world achieve the life of their dreams. Now, we're excited to bring you the same inspiring content with the Everygirl podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Everygirl. Wait, that was so loud. Let me do that again. That was like insane.
Whoa.
Whoa. Welcome back, everyone, to the Everygirl podcast. We are here with our Ask the Everygirl segment where you submit a question and we give you some advice. This week's Ask the Everygirl is a very interesting one. I wanted another opinion on this, so I asked my good friend and the Everygirl's senior fashion editor, Madeline Galassi, to come chat with me about it. Real Everygirls remember Maddie from all of the seasonal fashion episodes that we've done, and we will be doing that again for summer, so stay tuned. But Maddie, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me. I love being a guest on this podcast.
The podcast loves when you're a guest.
And we got questions to answer, baby.
And boy, do we. Are we ready for this week's question?
I think we are, yeah. Hit me.
The question is, I introduced a friend to my friend group and she did something very uncool that caused the rest of my friends to not allow her over again. I want this friend to apologize, but she seems to not think that she did anything wrong and brushed it off when I brought it up. I'm embarrassed. Any advice? You are also the perfect person to ask about this because you have nothing if not experience with friend groups.
Got friends. Okay, I have multiple questions about the question. It's dependent on what exactly they did, which could be a wide range of things.
Sure could. I mean, the mind does tend to wander on the worst of the worst when we don't know.
And it's probably worse than what it actually was.
What's your guess? I mean, we don't know.
Like, did she steal something? Did she throw up in someone's bed?
What if she had a drunk night and peed someone's bed?
Something like that, yeah. I haven't been there personally, but I've witnessed it.
Would you admit right now if you peed in someone else's bed?
I would not, but I also haven't.
Okay, noted. We believe you. But yeah, it is hard to know because I agree it does depend on what they did.
Right.
My mind went to something like that where she said or did something that was very offensive, but she could have stolen something. She could have peed someone's bed. Either way, there was something that the friend group does not want her around. And this person, the listener asking the question, feels embarrassed and kind of maybe feels a little responsibility for bringing the friend around.
In these situations, if the friend is not bringing it up to you, she's embarrassed. She's trying to act like it didn't happen. She is just being avoidant about it, which I'm the opposite. If I do something, I'm like, I gotta talk about it for 10
my
hours.
God.
Apologize.
You do nothing wrong. And then you're like, I'm so sorry. I'm the worst.
I do think that assuming that it was something that is forgivable with friends, it is best to operate under the benefit of the doubt. And, if you've been friends with this person for a long time, you know their character, you know what they're about, and what happened was a blip, and you need them to apologize to your friends. So you can save face, so she can save face. I think that you just need to have the hard conversation and bring it up. If you don't, it also is going to affect your two's friendship removed from your friends that you introduced her to.
Yeah, because it sounds like the listener brought it up to her friend and then the friend brushed it off. But you think being more direct of this is really not okay. I would really like for you to apologize and maybe being a lot more direct about it. And then because also if the friend doesn't feel bad that she even puts you in this situation, maybe she might not feel bad about what she did, but if she doesn't feel bad about the way you feel, I think that's good insight. If she's like, I don't care that you feel embarrassed or that you feel bad. I don't care about your feelings.
Right.
Maybe not the best friend.
Yeah, I think that those situations are so hard because we've all made mistakes. We've all done something dumb. And it's really unfortunate that whatever happened in front of your friends. And I'm assuming that it was you're introducing her and hoping that she infiltrates your friend group a little bit. And that obviously didn't happen. I personally am as we've alluded to, I'm a talker. I don't think I have a friend that I haven't had a hard conversation with. And I think that's why we're very close, is because I think operating under, if someone does something, you got to talk about it, you got to face it, is the only way to go. Because if not, is that a friendship? I don't know.
I totally agree. Having the hard conversations should be a part of friendship. Even if they're like, I don't agree that anything that I did was crazy, like this friend might feel that way, but she still needs to be able to like care about your feelings, let you feel
Right.
heard.
A lot of the time, from my experience, if something like this happens, you like hype it up so much in your head and you get so worked up about it and you're like holding on to it. And then you have the conversation and it's not that bad. Quick, it's brief. 95% of the time, they're like, oh, yeah, that was crazy of me. I'm really sorry. And then it's done and it's behind you and you can move on. So I think you have to bring it up. It's really hard to think about what I would do in terms of the other friend group.
Yeah, how would you feel? Like, would you also feel embarrassed if it wasn't your actions, but it was a friend that you brought to the friend group?
Yeah, I think that's something that's always hard because if you are bringing a friend into a friend group, they are a new representation of you. You obviously aren't responsible for whatever this person did, but at the same time, you kind of need to take ownership of it in a way.
This listener is obviously feeling so, she says she feels embarrassed. It is not your job to make anybody else apologize. It is not your job to
Well,
carry shame or responsibility for someone else's actions. But what is your responsibility is how you respond to that. So
right.
I don't think that she should feel embarrassed, honestly. I think that she can address it with the friend groups and say, like, I did not expect that to happen. If someone's offended, obviously that deserves, like, I'm so sorry that my friend offended you or whatever it was, but like, I didn't expect that to happen. I addressed it with my friend, but she didn't seem open to discussing it. I understand why you guys don't want to be around her. It shows that you took action. You're not making excuses for her, but it also is not your burden to carry. It's not your fault that someone you brought into the friend group did something uncool. Like, you don't need to be embarrassed. I think just like addressing it in that way. So you're acknowledging it and you're showing that you kind of did your part, but that this friend doesn't want to apologize, and that's not your job to make her apologize.
I'm always pro just being like, I'm sorry that happened. I understand how you guys feel. And like dropping it
Yeah.
works wonders.
Yeah. Sometimes friends just don't gel. Like, you can have different pockets of people. I have had friends that like I've brought around other friends and they're just, you know, they don't
100%.
gel. And I also have been around some of my best friends and I like don't love them. So it's okay that this didn't work out and you can just keep these friends separate. You just know now that they don't gel together.
Right. I agree with that. It feels like lower stakes too, because it's like, how often does this friend really have to be in the same room as your other friends? It would be hard for like events like your birthday or like a wedding.
Yeah.
But like overall, you can just keep on separate planes more often than not. If a friend is introduced to a friend group and they like truly are then in the friend group, pretty rare.
A friend group is such like a fragile ecosystem. If this didn't work out, it's not your fault. We don't know the uncool thing that they did. Maybe it was one of those things where she peed in the bed. I would not be friends with someone because they peed in my other friend's
Right.
bed. Like, you'd be like,
Right.
"Okay, I understand that you're like weirded out by this and you don't want her to come around. Okay, we've addressed that. She doesn't want to apologize. I'm so sorry about that. Bummer." But if she did something that obviously was like offensive and is not owning up to it, is not acknowledging like your feelings and how weird it is for you. For me, having accountability in people is obviously so important. So it seems like this friend is not taking accountability for even the way that you feel. So I would also look into like, what do you actually want from her? Like, do you want an apology from her? Do you want a sign that she understands your feelings? Like, knowing that it is not your job or ability to make anyone else apologize and to control other people's actions. What do you need from her in order to continue your relationship with her? If she's not willing to give an apology to the group, it's not your problem. Say to your friends, like, I addressed it with her. She's not really open to discussing it. So sorry, did not expect that to happen. I understand why you don't want her around. Case closed. Like, no big deal.
Do that. And then if you're debating remaining friends with that person, then you need to evaluate that on a different level. But if it's something you can forgive them for, address it with them and see if they take accountability and you can move on.
Yeah. But it's not your cross to bear.
No,
Friend groups are really tricky.
especially like I'm 28. In this season of life, it feels like a lot of friend groups have been established for like a decade plus because it's like friends from college, friends from starting out in the workforce. So there are just like so many dynamics and so many things that play a role in that.
You've actually done a good job. You're kind of like one of the few people I know that like have actually combined friend groups for as long as I've known you, which has been what, 7 years?
Yeah.
That's basically all of our 20s.
I'm really lucky. I have the gift of very good friends, like you included. You infiltrate right in.
I always infiltrate.
How beautiful is that?
But it does say a lot about you to be able to, like, have those friend groups that have stayed strong and kind of, like, cross-contaminated friends. I haven't watched White Lotus, but I've seen so much about this from this season, this, like, 3-girl friend group, and you're
Yes.
actually the perfect person to ask because I feel like you have so many 3-girl friend groups, like, you
I
have
do.
multiple.
I really do.
You watch White Lotus, right? So, like, is it saying that, like, it's hard to have a 3-person group?
It is so interesting. Mike White I feel like he does such a good job at writing female characters as a whole, which, oh man.
From Mike
Kudos.
Schneebly, of all people.
Yes, yeah, please. Basically, the gist of it is there's a group of 3 gals who are at the White Lotus. They've been friends for like decades, are all in different stages of life right now. One is an actress and lives in LA. Another is a mom and lives in Austin. And another is a single mom that lives in New York. Very different points in life,
Interesting.
getting together for this trip. And it is such an interesting like commentary on the friend group dynamic because he has it set up where the first night that they're there, they all are like, "Oh my God, I love you guys. I'm so lucky to have your friends." And then the second one leaves, the other 2 talk about that person. So it's now happened with all
In
400
every
people.
combo.
Yes.
Interesting. And what are they saying? Is it like, "We're worried about her about this," or is it
Yeah.
like, "She sucks," or what?
It's actually pretty good because a lot of it is like, I love her, but like, oh my God, she like doesn't look great. Is she okay? Like, not that like she's not beautiful. She just like looks tired. It's that kind of chat. And it's really crazy because he shows the person who they're talking about and like witnessing it and clocking it that they're like over there whispering about something. So they all also know as well. I've seen so much too about like this 3 friend group thing being something that can't work. And I do understand that a trio of any sort believes the opportunity for one person to always be left out. But I do reject the notion that they cannot work. I have a couple that are like some of the best friendships of my life. We do not do that. I don't ever feel any concern that that is happening either.
And also, here's my question about that, like, what is the fear if 2 of the 3 become really close? Just because 'cause they're getting closer, they're gonna like you less? Like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, I think that like third wheel fear is deep. But I agree with you that it's like, what if?
They have an inside joke that you don't get, and then they explain it to you. Like,
Wait, I
what's
also
bad with that?
feel that in my friend groups of 3, it actually is funny because I was with some friends that I'm in a trio with just last night.
One of your
And
trios?
we were saying that it is really cool that we are in a place that it's like if the other 2 hang out, I'm unfazed. And
Yeah.
we'll hang out with each of them individually sometimes too. And like I feel like I reap the benefits of that kind of dynamic too, that we can all break out and I'm not scared anyone's going to be mad. And we don't talk about the other that's not there. And it just is like what it is. So I think that what is shown on the White Lotus can definitely happen and shows what happens when it does. I don't think that the trio of girls is something that should be totally feared because there's just such a great dynamic that is possible with a close knit friend group like that. If you're really scared that like your friends are talking about you, that goes beyond the trio of it all. It just is like maybe who you're friends with.
That's
Yeah.
either, like, your insecurities or you do know that your friends would talk shit about you. They would be doing that if it was a group of 7 people or 10 people or 3.
And I just like also do think one of the things that happened in the White Lotus is a really amazing conversation where 2 realize that the one who was in Austin was a Trump supporter.
I saw this on TikTok.
And it was
That was
just
really
so funny.
fascinating.
I just do think that in situations like that, it's like, yeah, your friends are going to talk about you. If something wild happens, the other 2 are going to discuss it. And that was something that was wild, you know?
Yeah. Or, like, if your relationship gets broken up, the other 2 people are gonna call and be like, "Oh my god, blah, blah, blah," like, talk shit about your ex-boyfriend, but not in a way where it's like they're talking shit about you. You naturally talk about what you're experiencing, and part of
Right.
that has to do with the other friend's life.
Right. And I think that like there is a place for there to be genuine concern too.
Yeah.
which like I've had moments of that from like really big stuff like deaths to like smaller stuff like just not being in the greatest place. I'm worried and how can we support them coming at it from a place of genuinely wanting to like make sure we're supporting the third person as best as possible. And I think that that's different as well. Where like that is not what's being displayed on the White Lotus at all. Her skin looks waxy, like it's stuff like that. So it is not the same.
Talking shit is very different than like vocalizing how we are affected. Like, I'm positive that friends I have probably talked, quote, shit about me in the way that I'm sure that they're saying to their friends, like, Josie never responds when I text her. Like, I'm sure that friends have, quote, talk shit about me in at least that way. I think that there's room to be like, you're talking about your feelings with your other friend. That feels very different than like her skin is fucking waxy
Right.
or like, oh, she's so annoying. It comes from a place of this is what I'm feeling instead of like you're trying to be competitive.
I agree with that. And that's what I'm saying is like, I have character flaws that I'm like deeply aware of.
What are they? Name them.
You want a list?
Yes.
If friends were talking about that, I would take like literally no offense to that. That was such a good example of like, you don't respond to text.
Yeah. I'm positive that you have gone to our other mutual friends and have been like, Josie never responds.
Josie, I can't get this girl to respond to anything. But that is so different than people. Josie looks horrible today. And if someone is saying that about you, you got to reevaluate.
You got to reevaluate. If you're
Channel.
worried about someone saying that about you, you got to reevaluate. I have never had that experience with any female friend where they either were saying to me or we were discussing anything about someone's looks.
No.
Ever. Like, I've literally never had that experience.
No, I've never overheard it. I've never been like fearful of that. I just think that the 3-person friend group is lovely.
Especially with like women friend groups, there's always this idea of like, oh, it must be so dramatic. I mean, I've said this before. People will say that when I say I work at an all female company, they're like, oh, there's got to be some drama. And it pisses me off because I'm like, I have seen a lot more drama from men and it is not dramatic at work. It is like so supportive. So I've never had that experience in my female friendships where we're talking shit about the way someone else looks or we're being catty or competitive. I've never had that. And I feel happy that you and I are not a safe space for any kind of friend that would want to
Right.
talk shit, that I've never been exposed to that.
Yeah, I think that too, like in my youth, I experienced a ton of that. And I did think it was normal at that time. Now that I'm in friendships that don't have that, I'm like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. Like sometimes we're outgrowing friendships. If you're experiencing something like that, maybe putting some boundaries on it, distancing yourself a little bit too, because it is really possible to be in friendships that is not happening.
Did you have any fear of like if you were not there that other people would be talking shit about you, or has that never crossed your mind?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay, what were you worried they'd be saying? Like, was there things in particular that you were insecure about, or were there things that your friends made you feel insecure about?
I don't know. I feel like when I was younger, I have a couple of really close friends that I have maintained since growing up with, and I'll be friends with until the day I die. But most of my close friends right now I've met past like the age of like 21. I've been lucky. I have met a lot of friends through work, which is a perk of this industry. I think it's a lot of women in the same age group. It's a lot of like-minded people. And so I've had the opportunity to make more friends in adulthood than I would if I was in like finance or something. When I think about like the things I worried about in middle school, high school, I'm like, God, it did not matter. All the things that I worried about, it's just like a natural, like mutually no longer friends, and it didn't matter. I do remember just like being so insecure about that in my youth, which I feel like, again, in like middle school, high school, I had a couple best friends, but then a larger group. And I feel like I never worried about my best friends, but I worried about the
The
like
larger group.
larger group. Yeah.
Yeah. And you think it just because it was just that age where you are so insecure and like your
Yeah.
place in a friend group matters so much?
I just think that like that age is so tough. I'm sure I did things too that like I don't even remember now. When you're in the thick of it, that is your life and everything feels like such a big deal and you're young. Your frontal lobe isn't developed. I can't imagine the things that I'm sure that people would be like, oh my God, Maddie said this once. I'd be like, I said that, like, I don't, you're just so looped into it. The insecurity of that age too is just like horrendous. You don't know one thing you're doing. Looking back at like when you're a freshman, sophomore in high school, you are like a little kid.
Your frontal lobe is like so far from developing.
No. I have a cousin who's a sophomore in high school, and I look at him and I'm like, I can't believe when I was that age, I felt like I was a person because he's like a little kid to me.
A child. Like, how are we
Uh-huh.
able to drive? Who was giving us licenses when we
And
were a
it's like,
child?
of course there were issues at that age. You're insecure, you don't know what you're doing. But like that's not what friendship is when you are grown up, I feel like is like the beautiful thing. Something that I've gotten to learn because I remember I was insecure and worried about that for like much of my young adult life. That like now in adulthood to have just like no concerns about friendships. Literally the last thing on my list of worries is friends, which again, that is a testament to my friends more than anything I've done. I think I'm really lucky that I have a lot of great women in my life, you included. But it just is so crazy to be able to see it a little bit clearer through like a lens of someone who's like beyond that when there was definitely a point that I never would have been able to imagine not worrying about my friendships.
It is really interesting how when we're young, that is like the biggest concern. It's everything. It's like,
Yeah.
who am I going to sit with at lunch today? What
Am
are
I
they going to
oh,
think?
me this weekend? Why wasn't I invited? Like that kind
Yes.
of stuff.
Oh my God, they posted on Facebook without me for the oh, that God. I want to have grown up in the time where there was no social media where like you wouldn't know if your friends were hanging out without you.
I remember getting Facebook as a freshman in high school. The posts on Facebook and like if a friend was with someone, they would make what was it even called? Post on your wall?
You'd post on each other's wall or you'd make an entire album. Like now it's like if people hang out, they're like posting a cute outfit story on their Instagram and that's all you have to see. Back then, people were posting full albums from one night where you were all hanging out at someone's house. You'd put the little emoji over the beer bottle. And like we had to watch that all the time so we would know. Not only would we know if people hung out without us, but it would be like a stab in the heart over and over because it would be an album of like 55 pictures that we'd go through and be like, "Oh my god, we were not invited for an entire album worth."
Something I remember too is my friends who had like MacBook desktops, it would be pictures like the fisheye lens of friends
Yes.
together and stuff if they hung out. So if you hung out, people knew.
Oh my god, even if you, like, went to get coffee, it would be like, "We're gonna have a whole photo shoot outside of
Right.
Starbucks." What was the Pixel Monkey? What
Oh
or
my
no,
God. Oh,
was
what was
that
it?
it? What was the thing where you would edit and put, like, a pink filter on and then, like, put that text on it?
Put a quote on it. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Taking like pictures with people like on their driveways and stuff.
Like, heading the field, being like, "Let's go do a photo shoot."
And it's like the most heinous pictures you'd ever see.
Ugly.
That part of life I do feel like is just like a rite of passage. I have some little cousins who are around that age, and I'm like, guys, I know right now that's everything to you because it was everything to me. But one day you're not even going to remember this until you're talking to Josie and be like, oh my God,
It's like, "Fuck."
what was that? But like, it just doesn't matter. And I think even some of college too is like a little weird. I do feel like something has recently switched in me over the past like year. Feel like something in my brain has changed.
Maybe your frontal lobe fully developed at 28.
That's what I feel like. Isn't that around the age? Isn't it like 27?
I think for men, but for women, it's earlier. Maybe you were just at a late stage.
Would have been a late frontal lobe.
Late bloomer on that front, but, no, it totally makes sense. I mean, I actually don't know. I'm not a scientist. We can Google it later.
Well, I'm not.
The basis of everything is having self-worth, like a high
Yeah.
self-esteem. And growing up, you just like don't really have a sense of you. So you really can't have as much of a foundation of a self-esteem to be able to be like, I actually don't care if people are hanging out without me. I actually don't think that it impacts my worth if I don't feel the need to make sure that my friends are not going to talk shit about me. I can just trust that they aren't. That obviously takes a high level of self-esteem that it makes sense that as we age, we gain more sense of self.
So much of it to me is just like when you are a little bit older and like have your feet on the ground a little bit more, you are able to recognize other people's actions are coming from a place of mine included. Everybody on earth has insecurities. Everyone on earth has worries, which I guess kind of loops back to the original question we started talking about. Everybody's going through shit. And when weird stuff is happening, being able to recognize and be like, oh, that wasn't about me. That is about something else that's going on. Let me check in on that friend, make sure they're good. When you're young, you do not think like that. You're like, everything's personal, everything's the end of the world. Or when you're an adult, it's like, oh, been there where I did something weird one night and regretted it the next morning. Like, who hasn't?
Who hasn't peed in a friend's bed?
Me.
No, I'm not like a peer when I'm drunk.
No,
I'm definitely like a puker.
Maybe I should have done some things.
Maybe that's a flaw that you haven't thrown up more in
more age of
inconvenient
12
spaces.
now. I should have been a little sloppier, you know?
Listen, sometimes it helps to like get it right out of your system.
Ain't no shame in that.
You know, like this TikTok thing that's like, the devil couldn't find me, so he got me really drunk and like put me in a frat house where I had to throw up in the sink of the
Oh,
frat house.
well, college, we can chalk that up as a lot of mistakes.
When's the last time that you and I have drunk together?
Oh my God. A long time.
That feels unfortunate.
A really long time. And Josie's always going to be drinking like wine. She drinks wine like it's water, baby. Red wine on like a hot summer's day.
What else is a girl to drink?
I can't even think of another thing I've ever seen you drink but wine.
I'm such a wine girl.
I feel like it like makes my like heart race. It has to be something in it.
Wine is a little bit of a devil's juice where it will just like really bring out the worst in you.
It sure is.
Wine, the devil's
It's
juice.
devil's juice.
Okay, well, this is
Really
so fun.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks everyone for listening. Let us know your thoughts or what you would do in this situation in the Apple reviews or Spotify comments, and DM us at the Everygirl Podcast if you have a question that you want us to answer on air. Talk to you on Tuesday.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I sure did. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really makes a huge difference for our show so we can keep growing and bringing the content that you love. If you want more info, you can find us at the Everygirl Podcast on Instagram or at theeverygirlpodcast.com. Talk to you next week.